It goes popping my knuckles.
That was a fun sound.
What?
That was a fun sound.
With the cracking of my knuckles?
I could hear it. Yeah, it was loud.
Bro, what happens when you spend a good deal if you're trying to play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot on Steam?
Oh my god.
I've gotten past the Cell Saga now. And now we're on to the... Actually, speaking of that, I've been watching this guy called Saiyan Scholar. He was really interesting. I watched something about the Ultra Instinct thing, which is really interesting. I don't know why. I guess it's kind of obvious that the angels are using Ultra Instinct, but I guess I'll talk about that later.
I've been watching my way through Dragon Ball Super while while I've been doing. I have one really tedious project where I just have to look at 11,000 links and decide if they're spam or not. And it's just there's
Okay, everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of the Anime4All podcast. Still working through some minor difficulties. I will work towards getting this available to more avenues of people being able to listen. Right now, it's still just going to be relegated right now to YouTube. But we're in episode 2 of the season 2 of our podcast, and we're now going to reviewing 2 episodes at once. Um, Before we continue on this, I'm just gonna say I remember last time I said we're gonna review in Shaman King. Still gotta work out the logistics of that. We will see. Uh, Making no promises anymore because anytime I do make a promise, I I apparently lie every time. So we're gonna play everything by ear.
You're not a liar. You're just a failure.
All right. Uh, we're reviewing season 5's episodes 1 and 2. Well, episodes 2 and 3. Wait, yeah, 2 and 3, I think.
4 and 5 and these are 91 and 92. I don't know what that turns into actually. Yeah, I think it's 3 and 4 though.
Everything. So, yeah, it's 3 and 4. Never mind. I was not correct at all. That's part of the failure gimmick. Okay, moving on. I guess both these episodes encompassed one fight, but I think they did it pretty well. Um, Essentially, they reintroduced Shinzo, a character from season 2, during the festival arc. Which, by the way, this is a little bit of something I knew about way ahead of time. I couldn't wait till they get to this point, but Shinzo does make a reappearance. Um, what's your opinion on him? Several seasons later, now that we've seen him in action and what he's changed and what he's learned, what he's improved.
Which one, Jeremy?
Shinzo, the guy with the brainwashing quirk.
Oh, I find it really interesting that Eraser Man's using him as a student. I like. It seems like almost like even. I don't know. Like they drew so many allusions to it. Like with it's obviously Eraserhead's like favorite, and you see like that little comedic moment, for example, where he's criticizing Midoriya and All Might for like hanging out with each other, and then you realize that he's been hanging out with that guy too much too. So it's either his like son or his pet student, but like one or the other.
I think it's his pet student because during season 2, Eraserhead, if you know everything he says, he seems to take a particular interest in Shinzo. He even mentions that during the tournament when Shinzo goes through his spiel about how it's not fair that people like Deku have physical quirks that allow them to become a hero more successfully than quirks like his that are not like they're not physical. They're basically mental. Eraserhead brings up the fact that that's a problem that's inside the Hero Society. He brings this up like very early on, so it just makes sense that at some point Eraserhead took him under his wing. I don't know when that happened, but at some point he took him under his wing, gave him the bandages around, well, not bandages, but the binding cloth around his neck, which he doesn't really use that too much here. I'm hoping he actually uses it in the next fight. I don't really remember if he does or not, but I like
I appreciate that Midoriya seems to have inspired him to like become better, because that's like Midoriya's like, I don't know, defining characteristic that sets him apart as an individual, not powers wise, but as an individual, like as a heroic character. His ability to inspire and change people is like my favorite thing about him, and they've really been downplaying it because they've been sort of, and you might disagree, but I feel like they've sort of downplayed Midoriya himself a lot from the original series when it was kind of the Midoriya show. And now, like, Midoriya is still a key player and everything, but there's so many other storylines going on that there's whole episodes sometimes where Midoriya is just kind of there. You know what I mean? So they haven't done the degree of character development in him that they were doing in the first episodes when he was alone on the beach and stuff like that. And, like, I don't know. It's just nice to see more
I don't think
evidence.
Midoriya needs that kind of character development because they spent first 2 seasons developing him. We already know everything we really are going to need to know about him anyway. He's the atypical hero character. We're not going to learn much more about him.
My Hero Academia in general like has this tendency to like teach you enough where you get to know somebody, and then sort of like push them to the side and introduce you to new people. And it seems to be an ongoing thing that like you spend a lot of time getting to know people and not seeing a lot of things that like test their limits. And only like the key players like in the series really get their character tested to the deepest level. Midoriya does, Icy Hot, Bakugo, and stuff like that. Just a few characters are really tested for who they are and what they're made of. And I was worried that they were just kind of bored with Midoriya in the storyline or something like that. But I really want to see him continue to deepen and complicate as a character. You know what I mean? Not just get new powers,
I
but
don't think
actually
they're
like
gonna though. I
grow.
mean, yeah, sorry, I was like, I don't think they're going. I mean, he's the main character, so they're gonna obviously do something. But at this point, he's so. I hate to use the term for him this way, but he seems so white bread. I can't really imagine like the only thing I would think that would really that will add depth to his character is we know what happened to his father. If he's still alive, where the heck is he? We know he has a flamethrower quirk, but we don't know where he is. We don't even know what he's doing. Is he a firefighter? We don't even know where he is. He's actually been.
But that's not entirely true. Like we've seen a lot of character development from on Midoriya in episodes 2 through 4. We've seen him like deepen his understanding of his cough avatar cough like connection to his like predecessors. We've seen
I don't think that's development for him though. That's just more development for the power.
yeah, but he is pretty much the power for the duration of the series, I imagine at this point. Um, the power in him are kind of like is linked as anybody else's powers are linked to them, and but we're starting to see that like we're starting to see him build relationships with like previous people and stuff like that, and that's kind of cool. And we're starting to like we could still learn about his relationship with Bakugo. We could still learn about his romantic interests. He could developing his abilities and doing things like when he like developed his abilities to compensate for his damaged hands, for example. There's just a lot that he could still be picking up and growing from and bonding with his teachers and you know what I mean, all that stuff. There's like a lot of depth you can have. You can have as much depth for him as anybody else. And the fact that you're starting to see him as like a character that doesn't develop is kind of alarming when you think about it, because that's the meat and potatoes of the series is him.
No, no. What
So
I'm saying is that I don't like for me. I mean, like I said before, like he's the main character. They're gonna throw stones at him, whatever. But what I'm saying so far right now, like basically, even I mean, they were developing him from the very beginning. We got, like I said, I think we got as much character out of him as we're gonna get because we like he. I mean, so far, like the what I'm not saying that I'm not happy with what they've shown us. I'm just saying I just don't, I can't see because like if you're talking about personal mental development for him, that's where I'm coming from. It's like there are gonna be people around him that are gonna influence him, but there is like only so much the current people that's around him is gonna like influence him emotionally. They took Alma out of the picture when
like
he
what about
became.
like moral dilemmas? Like he could have a situation with a moral dilemma where he always seems to know what the right thing to do is, but and sacrifice, but like
I don't
what
know
if he's
because
where he doesn't fully understand the moral dilemma?
there was that thing with Gentle. He seemed like he was fighting moral dilemma there.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew exactly what to do there because he was like fighting with himself to see if it was right to take him down because him and Gentle
Mm.
seem so similar.
Right, and it was like sort of a little moment there, but like I'm talking about something with real consequences where he has to live with the consequences afterwards. We're just not really seeing things that dig into him a little bit, and I'd like to see that a little bit more with him. And I feel like this season, I mean, has the potential to go in that direction because they're hinting at it more. And we're starting to see like old school Midoriya cut in. He's starting to take notes on people and stuff, and they have that little joke where they're like, "Where did you pull that out of?" As he pulls the notebook
I mean,
out.
I think that he always had that. I mean, sorry for constantly, but like, I think we always had that with him. Like, the only thing is that he's already made notes on all the people that's around him. So there's no
Yeah, but
point.
he hasn't taken out the notebook in a long time. And I don't know. I'm just seeing a lot more classic Midoriya and getting back to the roots of Midoriya, and also little opportunities they're giving him to like develop his character and pull back on previous ties. You know what I mean? Like as they as he meets this old rival and everything else, and he's taking notes on him and paying attention and thinking, wow, this guy really developed. You're like, wow, like you made him your rival like that. You know what I mean? And you see that little Dragon Ball Z inspiration where like he's being Goku and inspiring people and then loving it when they like might get stronger than him. So I really appreciate that about him, that like everybody like Goku, everybody that he meets is better for having known him. You know, he makes people better people. But that's the things like Midoriya, like, and his ability to inspire and his ability to grow other people and his ability to celebrate when people like can beat him or get stronger than him and things like that. I think those are one of the big things that sets us apart from like the X-Men or the Justice League or something like that. That he has that ability to do that, and like you get carried away with it, and like even as the viewer, like things happen that make you feel inspired by it. So I don't know. We need a little bit more Midoriya in the series to really make it just not a cartoon.
I guess, but I feel like we haven't like I feel like there's been a lot of Midoriya, regardless of him, even in the situations where he was kind of taking a back seat. Because you also got to keep in mind that Midoriya is not like these other characters. Midoriya doesn't know what he's capable of yet, fully what he's capable of. A lot of these characters already knew from the get go how what they were capable of. They just didn't know how far they could push their abilities. Midoriya is finally caught up to knowing what he's capable of now. And now he's just trying to push himself. A lot of what he's saying that I guess he's not been there mainly because like he at this point up to the festival, he had just been using his quirk nonstop without really giving too much thought to what was happening to him. He had a couple instances where he even this episode he remembered during when Shinzo first brainwashed him the previous users. Which, by the way, I want to bring up that for whatever reason I don't know how this works because it feels like to me I guess you have to die to end up in the quirk physically anyway. When they first showed up, you could see All Might in that shadowy amalgamation, but now he's not present. So I don't know if that means you have to die to end up inside the quirk or not. I had no idea. But to the point. It's user number 721, but he can't see users 1 and 2. Yeah, he can't see users 1 2. He sees a shadowy figure, but he can't see them. He doesn't know what they look like. But but yeah, like Deku's learning. He's not caught up to the point where he's capable. He knows what he's capable of now. They bring that up too in this episode too. That Deku's costumes change, and he's learned a lot of new things that he can do now. Now he's caught up. Now he needs to be able to push his quirk. Now probably that's why we're gonna start seeing a lot more of him now because now he needs to push himself to discover what else he can do with his quirk. Besides
Right.
besides the basics of what he's already learned, such as punching wind walls and whatnot. Now he's gonna learn what else he's capable of with this one quirk. Um,
Mhm.
but at first, I don't think I don't think like Deku's like. I guess I could see coming from he said he wasn't all that present, but like I guess at the same time like yeah, all these other characters usually animes have a tendency to do something great when they introduce a lot of characters, but they don't do much with them later on. I hate having to use Naruto Shippuden as an example of this because you haven't seen this, so you don't know what I'm talking about here. But um, that show introduced a lot of characters, but they only really focused on after a certain point. They only really focused on three, and then at a certain point, they only focused on two of those three. And I keep bringing up Sakura as one of as an example of what they're doing to Uraraka. And the worst part of the problem is too, it wasn't so bad with Sakura because not many people liked her. A lot of people like Uraraka, and they're still treating her not that great.
Mhm.
So it's like
So Uraraka is the Piccolo of this series.
I don't know. I still don't see Piccolo's treatment that bad, but I mean that's just me. Yeah, I don't see Piccolo's
Piccolo,
treatment all that bad, but that I mean I'm not the biggest fan of him. You pay more attention to what's been going on with him than I actually have. So anything you have said like this kind of caught me off guard.
Q Piccolo doing nothing but getting his arms repeatedly shot off in the Tournament of Power.
I sense a lot of salt in the atmosphere.
Oh look, there's Piccolo. Oh, Goku! Oh, Gohan, I'll save you. Oh, they cut my arm off again. Oh, that's Piccolo through the entire
Okay,
series.
lots of salt and pepper. I think he's seasoned to that steak. Moving on, but but yeah, like, at least they're attempting to rectify and at least give us. I know you say you find it disorienting with how many characters they introduce. You get whiplash, but I think it's better.
I don't know if I find it that disorienting right now, but I do find it. I do find it frustrating that they get you, they earn you like earn buy-in. Like you watch an episode and you get like buy-in to one of the characters, and you're like, oh, that character's so cool, or I can empathize with that character, or I love that villain or whatever. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, bye, and you never see them again. Um, what's the name of the guy that can phase through walls and stuff?
Who?
His name sounds not unlike Midoriya, the blonde guy with they can go through walls and stuff.
There's a character that can go through walls.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh, you talking about Sorry, I literally forgot about him because he doesn't have the quirk anymore. Miorio.
Exactly. Midoriya as opposed to Midoriya. Yeah. So
Miorio, not Midoriya, whatever.
Well, like when are we going to see him again? Is he gone now? Do you know what I mean? Because they spent a whole season getting us to buy into him, and then he's like kind of out.
I think he lived his arc out though. I think that's where a lot of this thing is. Like a lot of these characters probably have lived out their arc for right now. They don't have any real like. We didn't like when they were doing their arcs. We didn't see any like future stuff that could happen with him. Granted, I will say the argument with him is that he like. What was her name again? I got her name. The little girl that he saved. The little girl he saved when he went all Luke Skywalker on a.
Yeah, the one that can reverse people. Like we probably won't see her again, and I don't know. There's just so many characters that you sort of fall in love with for one reason or another.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I like to counteract your argument that we'll never see them again.
Like another good example is Best Jeanist. Like I really liked Best Jeanist, and he started training some of the heroes and stuff like that, and he had his big like battle where he took a fall and stuff like that. And I wonder if we'll ever see him again. It's just like they repeatedly have these characters, and they have the core group, but the core group kind of phases in and out too. And I don't know. It's you want to keep getting invested and falling in love with the characters, and then they really make you do it, and then they kind of put them aside after you get to know them and build this universe. And from what you've said, like this huge universe that they're building is going to be set aside soon because the manga's ending, so the anime is going to end. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, I was taking so much of this on good faith that they were going to come back to some of these characters later, and it's starting to look less.
I mean, you're making it seem like this anime is going to end at the season 5. Look, no. The manga is so far ahead of this thing. Like, there was a year with there was chapters being released I don't even know anything about. I don't even know when. I'm just sitting there saying that he's confirmed that he's ending it. I don't know when he's going to end it. I don't even know. Like, there could be so much more content coming. And the anime still hasn't covered a lot of it anyway. Like I said before, I think to a certain point, I think after this training session, I don't know what happens afterwards. I saw lots of arc names. I don't even know what's happening. I think there's another like there's gonna be another. I don't know this for sure, but I think there's gonna be like another raid gonna happen at some point. There's gonna be a lot of villains coming back too. That's what I'm saying. Like you can't. I understand you say you're concerned that you're not gonna see a lot of characters back, but I didn't think we were gonna see Shinzo again until this arc came up, and I was like, "Excuse me," because I actually liked him. I think I liked the concept that he was battling, being unable to fight somebody like Midoriya, or say let's go even lower than that, somebody like Tape Man. I forgot his name. Seraphin.
Yeah,
Like
Sarah.
he I liked his internal battle with not being good, not being seen as good enough to be a pro hero. And I like that he's come back and he's gotten help from somebody like Eraserhead, who, by all sorts of imagination, probably shouldn't be where he is right now in terms of like the hero ladder, but he's there, he's respected.
Right.
So it gives hope that somebody like it gives hope that it makes sense too that somebody like Eraserhead would take him under his wing, because I mean Eraserhead probably doesn't take many proteges anyway. uh, but like I just saying, you know, something like Shiro, like that gives a reason for him to come back because he has a connection to another character you know of. I don't think we're done with some of his characters. I mean, I want to see Stain come back. I thought I saw rumors about Stain coming back at some point too as a hero, but I don't really know about that. That was a rumor, by the way. I don't even know that's true or not. But I want to see Stain come back too because I liked a lot of the principle he stood on. So
Yeah, and then he kind of
I
lingered for a
understand
little
that there's
while with the he
you
lingered for
buy
a little
into
while.
things, but
Sorry.
you buy into things, but that's just anime for you. There's gonna be some characters they just don't bother, you know, using again because I'm coming this from a like a story writer or character writer perspective. Sometimes you make a
Mhm.
character only for the concept of you're trying to put them in a, you're trying to get a character to a certain point. So introducing another character might help them out, and that character you make might be for all intentions purposes for you to be a one shot pony, but you are expecting people to like that character. A lot of characters end up like that, like where you know the creator made this character only for them to be there for that one time, but found out that a lot of fans liked them and brought them back. I think Shinzo is an example of that. I don't think Shinzo was meant to come back, but I think people liked him so much that that's why he came back. I don't think he was intended to come back. I really don't think he was ever intended to come back. I think after Midoriya beat him in that tournament, that was going to be the last of him. And I honestly, with Miria, I think he's going to come back. They kept on flaunting this whole idea that he's going to get his quirk back, so I highly doubt they're going to keep him out. And that girl that he's with, I don't think she's gone forever either, because she holds, from the way they were talking about her, she seems to hold a lot of potential for the future. So
Yeah.
you don't say that about a character as young as she is, and don't bring her back. I feel like she's gonna come back. She's gonna probably come back in a time skip when she's older. I think, but
Mm.
I don't think Miorio's dead. In terms of like coming back, I don't think any of his friends are gone because they came back in this season as fake villains. There's a lot of characters I don't think are gone forever. I mean, if they are gone forever, shoot. I mean, they were cool while they lasted. That's how I always view a lot of these things. I mean, I've watched enough anime over the years to see that you know some characters get brought in and they don't nothing ever happens to them because either they were meant to be a one time thing and that was just the whole point of their character was to be a one time thing, which sucks. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, it sucks. But like, if I can
What
sympathize
about
with
like
that because
Bakugo, for example? Like, what opportunity does Bakugo have to reemerge as highly relevant like he did through the first three seasons?
I think there's still some you know relevancy for him because I mean he's still learning. He still got that rivalry with Deku about like who's gonna become number one hero. That's
But
gonna be a thing.
Todoroki is just as much a contender for number one hero, and
Yeah, but I don't think Todoroki's really trying to become number one. I mean, I think there was a point where he was, but I think after his fight with Deku, that's probably changed.
but
Also,
what
he's
I
still
mean is that with Todoroki, they've introduced his family and they've added some extra storyline elements, and he's the son of Endeavor, and he's got a whole half of his power that's mostly untapped that he can still open up and work on. And the idea of combining the two powers too seems like it would be really cool. He has like all sorts of character development that's still just dying to come out. You know what I mean? Like his character arc is very much like not even a third of the way through in a lot of ways. And Bakugo is just like a jerk and with a heroic side, and that's kind of like where he's panned out. Like
I think he's
he's
got
being
more.
pushed back.
I think
Yeah, but he's also been penalized by things that have like set him back as well. Midori has kind of surpassed him at this point in a lot of ways. Bakugo is still super smart and super strategic, but like Midori has kind of passed by him, but he's still Todoroki is still keeping up with him. You know?
I mean, here's the thing. Midoriya isn't a flawed character. People like Todoroki. Now, I will say that I can't 100% say that Midoriya isn't flawed, but at this point right now,
Mhm.
he is the golden kid. He is the chosen one. Bakugo Bakugo's flawed. Todoroki is flawed. A lot of these characters that you're talking about are flawed.
Mhm.
I don't think Bakugo is done yet. And yes, he's been pushed back, especially because of the stupid licensing thing, which I'm still confused about. I thought he got his license. But whatever, I'm not gonna get on that. That's a rant for another time. But
But he doesn't even have like At this point, he doesn't even have like a story arc being teased.
I mean,
That's why
for
I
a
said
while,
like
Todoroki didn't have a storyline being teased. I didn't think they were ever going to talk about like whatever happened in their family. I mean, there were things being thrown out there, but I didn't think those were teases for Todoroki. I'm surprised they're gonna even deal with the Endeavor stuff.
forget teases. Like they've been there's Todoroki's storyline has been central to the plot all the way through.
But I
If
didn't think they're
nothing
ever
else,
gonna. It didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense to really go through with that because I mean, they all he did was like at
it's
during the
completely
festival.
it's
Hmm?
completely integrated with Endeavors though. You Endeavor's clearly like relevant because he's the number one now, and Endeavor's like most top priority, even more even debatably more than like his ambition is getting through to Todoroki. And even in the case of his ambition, getting Todoroki to be the number one hero is like a major story arc for him. Like Endeavor, like alone, is like a major story arc, and he revolves around Midoriya in an important ways because he's a potential rival there, which also connects to Bakugo. He's one of the most interesting characters just on his own, with his humble, like slightly but somehow arrogant attitude about things, and his intense power and his solemn nature, and how he's kind of mysterious. There's all sorts of cool things going on with him. But Bakugo is
What I was saying is that
Bakugo's been like 5 seasons of more of the same lately.
what I was saying when they first introduced Shoto and they had that whole conversation with Deku, whatever. I honestly believe they weren't going to do anything with it because it seemed like to me that he was just a third powerhouse that if they ever needed him, they were going to call on him. Because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think anything of Endeavor's like family issues because it didn't seem like all that important. It really
Yeah,
wasn't. It only became important because of like the theories behind Dabi. I think that's really what really boosted it anyway in everything. Because like if it wasn't for Dabi and the fact that Dabi's interactions with Endeavor weren't so weird, considering how Dabi normally acts, I think that's really what pushed it too. Is because Dabi normally doesn't have many reactions or anything like that. He seems bored and misses the world half the time. The only
if
time he's ever
Dobby turns out
smiled.
to be related, if Dobby turns out to be the son of Endeavor, then that's a storyline that's been teased for many seasons as well.
No, not really. Like
It's like one more
they
thing to
never teased the Dobby being the son. The first time they ever teased it was like when he first interacted with him in that
we started talking about Dobby being the potential son all the way back when he was first introduced in the camp scenes.
yeah, but there was no real that was me grasping at straws by the way. There was no real connection between Dobby and him because they never
But
interacted. They never
it made such
interacted.
it made such good sense though because we knew he had a missing child at that point. Here we have a missing like a dark
Did
person
we?
that's come out of nowhere with a yeah. We have a dark person that's come out of nowhere with a fire quirk that really in the fire is blue, right?
Yeah.
Which is a total hint at the fact that his mom is an ice quirk, and like no, it just makes wonderful sense to
No,
me.
I
It was
don't
like
think that blueness has something to do with the fact that the mother had. I could be wrong, but I like Dobby just has the
but it could
ability to
be
produce
sort of
really
like
hot flames.
it could be really high flames, or it could be sort of a hint for the viewer. You know, you look at fire and it's blue, and you think ice, and then because blue, and then you think of who else has a fire and ice combination? Oh, it's Todoroki and all of his siblings. So like I don't know, like it would fit in really really well, really poetically if that was the case. So I don't know, like when you said that, I was like, wow, that's 60% likely at this point, right when you first mentioned it, and now it's even more likely.
Well, I don't mean I don't know. You say that like Bakugo's kind of stagnated. I still think Todoroki is stagnated too because it doesn't seem much has changed with him. He still got that
But at
whole
least
"I
they've
hate my
got
father"
some.
thing up his butt.
At least they've got tons of stuff building up for Todoroki. You know what I mean? We don't really have anything building up. The old like the rivalry, like the way it's developed, is kind of old hat now. Like there's nothing like progressing it. It's not like Goku and Vegeta where they're always rivals, but it gets more interesting as it goes through. You know?
Well, they haven't had many chances to fight. On top of that, I mean, in Bakugo's defense, how do you make explosions more radical at this point? Because like really, what we need is Bakugo to come up with a new attack. But like after Howlitzer in no actually after AP shot, he hasn't really we haven't seen him develop any new attacks.
Well, his real power is sweat.
No, his real power is the explosions because he ignites them.
No, his real power is that he makes use, and right now he knows one type of useful sweat he can make. So if he could learn other things that he could do with his sweat, that would be one way. Otherwise, he could do more useful things with his with what he does have for his power. Like you saw that he made. They mentioned that he upgraded his suit to keep him warm, for example. But he could make timed weapons, like time grenades, things like that. You've seen him loosely use his weapon to be able to fly short distances like that. He could use equipment to upgrade his weapon and pick it up that way. Or he could even just gain some sort of martial art or supplementary skills like Uraraka did. You know what I mean? Where he becomes an extremely good hand to hand fighter. Or he learns tracking or navigation or something like that. You know what I mean? From one of the mentor heroes.
Here's the thing: Bakugo's extremely gifted, so anything he's being taught, he's going to pick it up immediately. So
Right.
I don't know if that would be like interesting enough to watch Bakugo learn. I'm pretty sure I can assume that he's already got all that. So the martial arts. I'm pretty sure he's got all of the rest of that stuff.
But speed or something else. There's stuff that a lot of the I mean, for example, with Eraserhead teaching how to use his bindings, you know what I mean? That's a skill that any of the heroes could potentially learn to some level. They could all learn how to use those bindings. Imagine the guy with multiple arms learning it, for example, and he's got 6 arms to work with instead of 2. There's all sorts of things that you could pile onto the character if you wanted to develop his peripheral skills in some way, and you know what I mean, and equipment that you could build onto to build his character up as well. Um, Even utilitarian things, like if he was able to throw up a signal flare or something, you just don't know. So I don't think that he's hit the limit of developing his skills because there's just way too many directions that could go.
I mean, I get you, but since I just don't know what his power is, like I've been racking my brain for like months to almost years at this point, thinking about like where his quirk could evolve to, but I
What
can't
if
think
he
of a
just
dang thing like that. Like, I mean, yeah, he could maybe sweat a different type of liquid, but I don't know what else he could sweat that makes sense. That's the other thing. I don't know what else he could sweat that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
On top of that,
The
I don't know how you can control that because, like, I mean, the sweat that he generates is only made when he's exerting himself.
Okay. I just don't think nitroglycerin is the only thing he could have sweated. I mean, I could sit down and think about it and brainstorm, but there's nitroglycerin's not the only thing he could potentially ever sweat. So
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but I just don't know what else that he could sweat that would make sense. Because his quirk is yay, it's sweat, but he also ignites it. The only thing I would think is that maybe instead of igniting the nitroglycerin, maybe he can learn to ignite things from far away. But I don't know like how that would be some type of psychic ability, which I mean is not
No,
above him.
well, the
But
equipment, because the guy that generates electricity learned how to focus it on his little spikes, right?
well, I mean, yeah, but he needed to because his electric abilities were dangerous around groups of people, and he needs to be able to fight. He needed to be able to
Right.
learn to fight in groups of people. I don't think
So
Baka could go.
what if Bakugo used similar equipment to make landmines or time bombs or something
Well, I
like
mean,
that?
he got a grenade. We saw that during the
I know a
licensing
grenade
exam.
is just another way to make an explosion, which he's already good at. But I'm talking about something strategic, like a time bomb or something like that, or a perimeter bomb. Where someone walks within a radius and it goes off. Something like that he could make with equipment enhancements would be cool.
I guess, but I don't know. It's like that would mean that he would have to. Because I think his sweat is the ignitable fluid, so you would literally have to find a way for his sweat to not go off before it hits a time limit. I mean, yeah, it's not that hard, but still at the same time, I just don't know. Because I feel like there's some
Yeah.
other property of that liquid that we don't know about, and he doesn't know about either. Now that you brought that up, his sweat. And I didn't think about his sweat at all, because like when I was thinking like his quirk evolving, so it's
Right.
possible. Like his maybe his sweat has another property that he has never discovered. Because his
Or
mother can.
what if you could change the properties of his sweat to do something like a slow burn? Do you know what I mean? Where he creates something that like will burn more like napalm than like fire flying through his hands or explode. You know what I mean? Or something that would like melt metal, so he could be like run up to a door and he can't quick flash explode it, but he can spray like more like of a slow burning napalm thing on the door and melt it. You know what I mean? There's ways that he could even just upgrade the sweat that he has right now to things like if it became more dense and syrupy as opposed to gas. You know what I mean? Like the way it practically is right now. I don't know. Or if he could find equipment that made a small, like a slow radius of it, and he could make like the equivalent of like a lightsaber or something like that by making a shorter but super intense heat. I don't know, because he doesn't really have a melee weapon right now. Fiery
Well,
fist.
I mean, his
Aiming
hands is his melee weapon.
what?
His hands is his melee weapon right now.
Yeah.
Hand to hand. Well, I guess before we're at 40 minutes, we continue talking about this episode because we talked about hypotheticals all over the freaking place. But I guess the
Well,
basic
you
long
just
and
said like you thought it was basically used up as like potential, and I'm saying there's all sorts of directions to go with it. Like you
no,
just
what I was saying is I couldn't think of like a way that his because I've been thinking because each hero I think about this some ways like I don't know where as this Cell Saga music is playing in the background before copyright hits me. Uh, I was like thinking of ways to. I was thinking about it specifically just in the form of his explosions. I wasn't thinking about like the things that make it explode. Yeah, I mean it's probably a
right.
possibility. I just don't know like because he said he sweats the nitroglycerin, but I
What
guess
if you
that what
learned how
makes
to
his
modify a sweat so it was smoke generating as opposed to heat generating? You know, like then he could make a smoke screen with it.
I think he's already attempted to make a smoke screen.
But that's what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? Like he could, if he's even close to that anyway, like making a sweat that was like nitroglycerin, except that it all it really did was create smoke instead of huge explosions and fire and stuff like that would be useful too, because then he could create like cover. You know, there's just or he could block like this guy that we saw in episode 4 that like uses his smell because he like a fog or something that blocked his smell. There's just a lot of different applications for his ability that like could be developed if the writers wanted to, and none of them would be infeasible at all. You know.
Well, it just depends on if he can sweat other things. That's the thing. I don't know because like that
Even
was
in that case, though, it's just a modification of his current sweat to make it thicker so it works like nitroglycerin, or to make it thinner so it just creates smoke. Are
I mean,
both
his
just
sweat already
modifications?
works like nitroglycerin. That's what he said. His body sweats like nitroglycerin. Like it
I'm
already
sorry,
works as nitroglycerin.
like napalm, not nitroglycerin. Like if it made it thicker and slower burning, like napalm, or if it made it thinner and all it did was create smoke, like that's the same quirk. It's just like with a modification. And theoretically, his quirk could not change at all, and he could do that with some sort of like hero equipment too. You know, like this processes it to be more like napalm, or this thins it out so it just creates smoke. Like could totally be something his equipment did instead of his actual power, but it'd be more interesting if his actual power could do it.
But he had to. I mean, it all is like all like a body composition. Like I said before, it's just sweat is what he's igniting at the end of the day. But I mean, you would have to be able to control your body in order. I mean, I'm not saying he couldn't. I mean, it's his own body for crying out loud. But I don't know if
Yeah,
he could control your body to that level to be able to like control what you're sweating out. Um,
I guess so. Many of the other characters have fine tuned their abilities to be
yeah, but I
able
don't think
to.
they fine tuned down to the molecular level. I could be wrong, but I don't think they fine tuned down to the molecular level. I feel like that would be what Bakugo would have to do. I mean, the closest character that could help him with that would be Creati because she literally deals with making things that are a fatty tissue. But
But
that'd be
she started becoming better at creating more complicated things than originally.
yeah. What I was saying, like I just don't know, like if maybe she could teach Bakugo about that, but I don't know. Like I said, if Bakugo isn't like I said before, Bakugo is exceptionally gifted, which is surprising for a character with his attitude. Most of the time, characters like that are not that gifted, but he's exceptionally gifted. But
Right.
it's like I mean, yeah, he has his. I mean, yeah, when you think about it like that, his if you really dig down into sweat, it probably is a way, what he something else he can do. I mean, but yeah, I don't really know. Like I said before, I don't really like I said before. For me, in my mind, I was reaching a roadblock if I had that quirk, I would not be able to advance it any further. Baki, on the other hand, is probably a different story. But I mean, probably there's different types of explosions he could do. He could work on, but I think right now Bakugo needs to get past one of the biggest hurdles, which is himself. That ego of his needs to be put in check. But
Totally.
I guess to continue on with the episode, you mentioned the Beast Man, but I guess basically to make a long story short, they separate each. We get introduced to Team B again because we don't know the entire class, which now we do. Still don't like the main character of Team B, that guy with the yellow hair that can duplicate quirks by touching somebody.
You're supposed to hate him.
I guess I don't know. I think I would like to like him because quirk is kind of cool, but whatever. But then we find out they're gonna fight each other in a combat situation, separated into 4-man teams, except for Shinzo, who they introduced back into the story, who wants to transfer into the hero course. And he's gonna fight twice, one on each team, and we find out he's gonna fight with Team A, the group with Asui, in it, Team A, and then Team A is number 1 group, and then Team B's number 5 group. He's gonna fight with them. So we first the first fight is with Asui's group and the guy with the beast quirk, and we learned a little bit more about Shinju's quirk. We also learned about the detriments of his quirk too. If you already know what he's gonna do, you just don't have to pay attention to him. We found out apparently he's been developed. Well, he's had somebody develop. I'm pretty sure it's Hatsumi develop for him extra vocal cords so he can copy voices. That was crazy. I also love the name of that, persona cords. Like that actually makes a lot of sense. And also something I never thought about too is like there's also ways around people not paying attention to you if you're trying to brainwash them. And I actually really used it exceptional. We also did see that Shinzo is also lacking experience. He when it comes to experience, he isn't on the same level as Class A.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is to be expected. But we do learn a lot more about him. Asui Kaminari comment that like he may not be that far behind because he worked well with them. But I think it had a lot to do with the fact that the people he was paired up with made it easier for him to integrate. One of them being Tsyu, because for crying out loud, they keep hammering this in with her. She's balanced. If she can work with anything, it's ridiculous. I didn't expect her to be so versatile for a character that just wants to be a rescue hero.
She's extraordinarily versatile. She's useful in any situation. Now, I'm not fanboying about this. She really is useful.
No, I know. I agree with you. I mean, she's extremely versatile, and it's really hammered it home. Like this episode, if anything, if you didn't believe she was versatile in any situation, this episode pretty much like it what's the word I'm looking for? It highlighted it exceptionally well. Even in situations where she wasn't that useful, she was still useful. I mean, for crying out loud, I can't believe I forgot about the mucus thing she told us about in season 1.
Right.
When they brought that up, I was like, she told them about that in season 1?
I know. It's just like this little teaser.
I will say, I want to just add a joke in because I know the jock isn't going to do it. That mucus, she'd probably give a man the best hand job in the world.
You know what was now that you're going there, I thought it was really funny when caught that guy in the room, threw him in the cage, and he landed there, and all he was like,
yeah, I don't know what that was about, because he seemed to be more embarrassed that she had her tongue wrapped around him than anything else. And I also will say there was a bit of like detail that you probably wouldn't notice if you weren't really staring at it. But the way he was wrapped around so well that it looked like, to me, it looked like she was sitting him on her back, right in between her cheeks. It was a very odd detail considering her anatomy isn't the most human. Well, it's very humanoid, but she's also still got the frog parts of it. It's very weird. Like her anatomy has been very weird in terms of animation for this company. At first, it seemed awkward, and then they managed to. It seemed like they gotten better with drawing her. Because at first, it was awkward with her anatomy. It's gotten a lot better. I've noticed over the course of the seasons coming up.
Yeah, they definitely, when she was camouflaging, got pretty up close and personal with exactly the way her butt looks.
I wasn't gonna say anything about that, but I mean, sure, why not? I was already kind of edging close to that comment anyway, but whatever. Um, Speaking of abilities, we see her camouflage ability again, which is interesting. Uh, I guess speaking of abilities, I still feel like there's still like I'm not gonna say she's gonna probably be able to turn into a frog, but I feel like she'll get. I feel like there's gotta be more abilities because that mucus thing was actually I didn't even really think about this, but I learned about this type of frog I think a week or so ago. But there's a frog that does like excrete a mucus uh that I guess it couldn't act like Sue's. It's more like a sunscreen in real life, but it's kind of like what Sue's doing here. So it's like
There's a lot of frogs that create some sort of coating,
yeah, I mean it makes
especially
sense that she's capable of that, but it's like there's got to be more things she can do though.
she said it was mildly poisonous, but it stings more than anything, and like that. If you get like into that range, then yeah, there's plenty of people that are like plenty of like possibility there. Like plenty of frogs have it and at least mildly irritating coating. I want to know, like, call me when she gets the hallucinogenic one. That's just gonna blow my sex fantasies up about her.
Oh dear, dang it, Chuck.
What?
I started this, but I hate it that's continued.
If being in touch, if being in physical contact with her makes you high on and the tongue, I mean, man,
Dang. But
I can,
besides that,
I
I mean,
could
this
spend a
episode.
good, I could spend a good long spring vacation in her stomach. All I'm saying.
Jeez, jeez. But continuing off of that, continuing with the highlighting of how versatile she is, which that could get taken out of context too. But we're gonna move on from that one. But she's showing that she's really like when she showed that it's quite clear she knows how her quirk works, which is kind of interesting. When you talk about backstory, I like to know more about like when she discovered her quirk to begin with, and I guess her family must know a lot about that quirk because it must be a family thing. But yeah, I like to see more of her quirk evolving because I feel like there's still the potential that has not been tapped yet. But
I'd like to tap her potential.
yeah, I know you would. But
Oh,
dang it, I lost train of thought now. I can talk about the Beastman. We learned about class B's. At least the first group of four students in that class, four we had not seen before. Well, in combat. Um, I will say that I'm pretty sure it was intentional. But that guy with the Beast quirk, that was obviously a reference to Beast from X-Men.
oh
That
yeah,
was
totally,
that was
100%.
that was no way that was not a reference to Beast in X-Men.
I thought of Beast, and I also thought of Sasquatch from X Men, but I think it's probably more Beast.
I'm not familiar with Sasquatch, but I mean, if you believe he's close to comparing, I believe you. But I think I've heard of him, but I just don't think I remember seeing him. But
I'll send you a picture in Discord. The people listening at home could like can look it up, but it's the resemblance is a lot closer than it is to Beast, and the personality is a little bit more in line as well. Because the guy has a Beast-like ability, but he doesn't really act
oh,
like
I've
Beast
seen
at
that guy.
all.
I guess I just forgot all about him. That actually
Yeah,
does
I
look
would say
very
he's
similar
more
to
like
him.
Sasquatch. That's just me talking, but I think that's more like Sasquatch. Especially if you look at his arms and how they're like, and around the face, and how the face has those weird like eyebrow things, just like that guy does and stuff. He
I,
strikes me as a little
yeah, I think he's
Sasquatch.
probably more in line with him. I just thought of a Beast because he was the most well known. But we learn about those guys. We learn about the Beast guy. We learn about the guy with the ability to imprison you in air cubes,
Mm-hmm.
which is odd. Granted, he also was hiding on the back of that guy. That's when we learned
But
about
we're
like the
you.
what?
I was curious if air cubes were the only thing he could do. I bet he does lots of stuff with it. barriers.
I think
He's
he. I
good.
think he just can. He can. He make. I think he can just make anything out of air. I think that's what the idea is. He just. It's just the air cube is the easiest thing he can probably make right now. I feel like. I think you have to look that guy up to figure out what he's actually truly capable of. But
It'd be weird if he only makes air cubes because that's really bizarre. But like,
well, this world's bizarre. I mean, that was the
yeah,
only thing that would just fall in line with everything we know about My Hero Academia at this point.
yeah,
I would laugh actually, but the scale dude who's able to make scales, we learned about him. 'Cause I don't think I saw him at all. Uh, we're missing one more person I know. Oh yeah, and Vine Lady.
yeah. I love Vine Lady. I actually felt like they had some pretty. They had a really good team with those four, like the
I mean,
opponents did.
they worked really well together. I mean, they knew exactly who to they knew exactly who to target. They didn't well, I would say they didn't underestimate anybody. They underestimated Shinzo, um, for one. They kind of fixed that up later after they learned about his new equipment. But
And
they went in.
Tsyu, they
Hmm?
weren't fully knowledgeable about Tsu's abilities,
Well, that
so
too.
she was sort of an unexpected element because she just has so many powers that they couldn't keep track of them all.
I don't think they were really unexpecting her. I think they just didn't. They weren't. Well, I guess you can't say if you weren't expecting it. They weren't expected. But her quirk is so I guess similar to Beast that I believe Beast could probably deal with her if necessary. I mean, and Sue did also mention that she couldn't take him in a one-on-one fight anyway. Um, because she isn't all that strong compared to him. But I mean, sensibly because I mean his quirk enhances his strength. But they weren't expecting. I knew they knew about her camouflage because I mean Beast literally grabbed her as soon as he came out of nowhere and threw her into a wall. I was like, dang.
Yeah, he was did a pretty good job of spotting her and kind of rendered her camo ability not
Well, I
so
mean,
great.
Shinzo did say if you know where to look, she can't really hide from you. So, eh. I mean, his sense of smell is probably what really did her in anyway. Cause
Yeah, but he just yeah he definitely knew what she smelled like. It was just funny the way he like marched right in like that. He was like,
yeah, I know. I
oh,
mean, he literally grabbed her as the first thing he did. I was like, oh wow.
right.
I was like, jeez, man. All right then. But I mean, that was one of the things. Like, once that happened, you kind of stopped paying attention to Sue for a little bit because, like, well, that was rendered completely useless.
But no, she worked it out.
I mean, of course she worked it out for crying out loud. She was. I would say half the. No, she was most of the reason why they won that one because
She
of
was
like
okay.
she grabbed the air guy, threw him into prison.
She was their binding hero. She was intel hero, and she was also not that bad at combat. They had other heroes that could do similar things, like the animal guy, like who proved to be, I think, by far the most useless of that group. Like he tried to do intel, but like it didn't work out that great for him because he had like what 2 birds, and then they had one heavy hitter. They had the electrocution guy as like one heavy hitter, and then they had her for like everything else except they had the one tricky guy. So I don't know. It was just like she was vital. Like nobody else had the ability to tie somebody up. Nobody really had her level of scouting abilities,
I mean, technically
and
speaking,
that
Shinzo could have tied him up. I mean, he just didn't. He just didn't get a chance to. Inexperience did him in.
yeah. But even in actual fighting, she was the first or second most valuable, even in a hand-to-hand fight, wasn't she? Well, no, because they had Red Riot, but he got taken out immediately.
What they did with him, they dealt with him because like he mentioned the Beast guy mentioned that he's the only
Yeah.
one that can deal with his strength, which is kind of funny actually that they mentioned that. So we now know Red Riot's defenses are really high. The only problem is that he's so dumb that they can get rid of him really easily,
Yeah, just kind of tossed him.
which is disappointing by the way. But whatever. I mean, he had his time to shine several seasons ago. So
If I may, this was not the smartest group of heroes that we will probably see this season. I mean, the electric guy is like average intelligence. The animal guy is like simple. You know, I don't know if he's dumb, but he's definitely simple. Um, we've never seen like he has
I
the
don't.
animal guy has
I mean, in the you talking about the beast guy? You talking about the animal guy with the ability to speak to animals?
The ability to speak with animals.
Oh, I mean, he's
Aquaman,
I don't know.
Aquaman.
I don't think we can really gauge his intelligence because of the fact that he's very meek. He doesn't say much.
I've never seen him do like with the versatility of his ability. I've never seen him do anything that I thought was sufficiently creative to rise up to how
I mean,
much he's
he's very meek though. I mean, a character as versatile as that quirk should be, his personality just doesn't line up. I think that's the
yeah.
problem. His personality doesn't really match up with his quirk.
If you gave that ability to like the shadow guy, for example, like he would make really good use of it. Um, someone with more creativity and ability to like
I don't think he
bring
lacks creativity. It's just that he's very shy. I mean, I think he's the shyest character that much. So he wouldn't be able to come out on top unless he was forced to. Which, by the way, he had an
what's
episode where he was forced to.
what's
Hmm?
the smartest use of power that you've seen?
I mean, he was surveying with his birds, but they caught on to that real quickly.
Well, didn't he like try to get birds and two stopped with two birds?
I think it has a lot to do with just how far his voice can go. I think
Okay, but like what about
that's what I said before. Like, he's very shy. I mean, I think a lot of his detriment is the fact that he isn't that outspoken. I don't
what
think he's
about
like I don't. Hmm?
what about flies? Why didn't he?
You cut out there. What about the flies?
Why didn't he send out flies and birds? They'd be much harder to spot, and like it'd be much less clear what he was trying to do with them.
Man, I don't know if there was any flies nearby. It's not like he just materializes them. Unless he does materialize them, that's another thing. I don't
Well,
know.
what did he do when he reached his hand out to like give his super punch? Like he all of a sudden the sex on
I
his
mean, I thought
hand.
those are bees. I mean, I understand that those insects. I mean, if there were any flies, why were there bees nearby? But I
So
don't
like,
know. I don't know, Jock.
exactly. I mean, there's that, but there's also like, I mean, why not? You know what I mean? Like, if he then send the bees out. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to send specifically flies, but there are enough flying insects around. I don't even know what to do with that punch.
Well, I
To be
mean, I guess
honest with you.
the other thing too is that he's also afraid of bugs. That was established.
Okay, but he surrounded his entire hand with bugs on purpose and wasn't afraid of it. So apparently he's
That
gotten
that
over that.
that doesn't mean he wasn't afraid of it. I can stick my hand in a pool
If
full of
he can,
piranhas. That doesn't mean I'm not
if he
afraid of the
can
piranhas.
surround his entire fist with what we assume are bees, because like why else would you do that? Then I
Jock,
think
I can put my hand into a pool full of piranhas. That doesn't mean I'm not afraid of them.
okay. But what I'm saying is, if he's strong enough in character to surround his hand literally in bees and use it to punch somebody, then he's strong enough in character to send them out to scout the area when like what he's literally doing is telling them to go away.
I don't know. Maybe he's just used to calling birds.
Maybe you're making excuses and being
Probably I
difficult.
am. And I don't know the answer to this, man. I really don't. I just know that I feel like if it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't so meek and like cowardly to begin with, I feel like he'd be better off. But that's just his character. He hasn't changed at this point. He's very. We don't see him a lot to begin with, so I mean, he ain't much been developed there at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's like Bakugo or like Deku. I just don't think he's that stupid.
Oh yeah, he's
Because
brilliant.
I'm not saying he's brilliant. I just don't think he's that stupid. I think he might be moderate intelligence. I don't think he's like. I don't think he's dumb.
Mhm.
I don't think he's like Kaminari shocked his entire brain cells dumb. I don't think he's
Like,
like that stupid.
what's the biggest creature that he's brought forth?
I think birds.
And what's the smallest creature? Like a termite?
I think he's brought out an ant or something like that. I mean, it happened during their little fight with
Like,
President Mike, but I think it was like a couple of insects or something like that.
why the literal hell has he not like shown up with an elephant or like a hippo or a lion or something somewhere. Why does he not have some of these things on hand?
I don't think it'd be physically possible, and it wouldn't make any sense because they can't. As far as I know, whenever they're fighting anywhere, they're inside of an enclosed area, and I don't think elephants would be nearby. I don't think they'd be
But
close
like,
enough that he could call elephants over.
why does he literally never get a chance like that? Like, why is he just literally like never in a situation where his ability is useful? He might as well be Aquaman for how useful his ability is.
I don't know. I mean, like I said before, it's like you're talking about him calling these gigantic stuff. I mean, the only other thing that would like I would say like if he needed a power up, I would say he needs to be able to manifest these things that he's calling. But I think that's the limit. I don't think he's capable of manifesting these things. I think they got to be nearby. Like I said before, like he's even said before that mask is supposed to amplify the range of his voice, but I don't know how far his voice could reach to begin with. That he would need an amplification mask to get his voice further out. Because like I mean, the one time he used this mask for that, he used it to call like a corn invasion of like crows or something like that. There was an entire like the entire sky was covered in birds. It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So I really couldn't tell you like why he's never been in a good situation. I think it's just how he's written. He's like he's the scaredy cat of the hero group, but he wants to be a hero. So like he's got to have his reasons. So I mean, I don't know if there's gonna be an arc with him involved in it. He's gonna be the forefront of a lot of conflict. It'd be awesome if he was. But they will really have to explain his quirk a little bit better than they already had, which is I can call animals to come to me. That was basically the summary of his quirk.
Yeah.
Like that's such a downplay to like what other characters have said what they're capable of doing. Earphone Jack, for instance, Earphone Jack can like pump her heartbeat out, and she's got like many stereos on her fist, so she can make that stronger. So like I
I mean,
mean,
does this dude even have like a pet hamster or something that he could call on in emergencies?
I think
Like,
there was in the episodes
why doesn't
when
he
they
own a
moved into the
dog?
dorms. I think when they moved into the
Why
dorms, I
does
think we saw animals.
why doesn't he own a dog? He should own a dog.
Mm,
He makes me mad.
I can tell.
He's-
I can tell you're frustrated. But I mean, hey, it's one of those things like it's one of those things like I mean, as much as I'm frustrated with Invisible Girl because she's shown that she can redirect light because her like that's how her ability works. But we've only ever seen her do like once or twice, and the times we've seen it, it's all been a gag.
she should do like solar flare.
Technically speaking, yes, she's capable of doing that, but they haven't. She hasn't done it. Her body is literally refracting light. Light is passing. It's kind of like what Miorio does to pass through objects. Yeah,
It'd be cool if she could literally flash somebody by becoming visible just for a second
dang it, Jock.
and just like scare the enemy, like distract the enemy. Like the enemy's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill everybody," and then just for a second, like a naked woman appears, and they're like, "Whoa!" And then she goes invisible
I
again,
mean,
and you get
they've already kind of talked about her cup size at this point. There's an episode where what's his name? The gunslinger dude accidentally bumped her in the chest. I was like, well, that was on purpose. They did that was written on there. That was not that like that was a written situation in there. There's no
oh
way you
yeah.
could to tell me that he could like jeez. But yeah, with the quirks they got, I mean, yeah, they're not the best group. I mean, but at least we get to see more of like, because I know like they've been constantly Class B has been constantly shown, but we don't see much of them at all. We only see some of them, like Kendo, for instance, which I like how I think his name was Nitaro or whatever his name was, Naito. When he was like doing his speech about how much he hates Class 1A, you can see Kendo walking up right behind him, and all of a sudden, Razorhead just strangles him. I was like, "Wow, Razorhead's had enough of your stuff."
Mm-hmm.
I find it funny that it's like Razorhead's the one that shuts him up. But hopefully Shinzo will get more screen time when he's fighting as Deku because that's one of the things they're foreshadowing is him fighting Deku again. after so long. The funny thing is too, they both changed so much that the fight's gonna be different. I feel bad for him though because like Dick's gotten better at using his quirks. So before it was just finger flicks. Now it's gonna be a full fist in the face.
Right.
So like I feel bad for him, but hey, like maybe Shinzo's got his own like. That's probably why he's got the binding cloth. He's got to be able to restrain Deku to be able to deal with him.
Hmm.
I think the next group that is gonna be is it Bakugo's group that's next, or is he the third group?
The next group I'm really looking forward to. Let me jump to the preview. I'm actually really excited about it. My favorite class B person's there, the one with the big hands.
Oh, Kendo.
Yeah, she's my favorite class B character by far. I really like that character. So it's always a big treat to me when I get to see her.
I don't think I really have that many people or anybody in Class B that I'm like, that huge a fan of. Mainly because I just don't see a lot of them. I like Kendo because it's just how much comedy she adds with the other guy, but other than
I
that, I
would
don't
have
really have a
thought
favorite.
I would have thought the other rock hard guy, is that the one you're talking about?
No, not him.
I would
The
have
guy who
thought that
hates
was one.
the guy who hates 1A. He was very verbal about it.
Well, I like the vine haired woman. I thought she's one of my favorites. But I like the I would have thought you liked the other guy that's like almost as good as Red Rocket, but quite like a little tiny hair less good. I thought you'd
No,
like
I
him
don't
because you like.
really. I like him when he's paired up with Riot and talks, but him as a solo character, not much. The only thing I would sit there and say, I feel like they're gonna do what they did to Red Riot for him. They're gonna make it so that he can turn into steel or something like that. I think that's what they're
Yeah.
gonna do with him because their powers are so dang similar.
So um so in the Class B characters, I only recognize her, one that can make her hands huge. The other one's like there's like a Lego man looking guy with like a box focus. Are you dead?
I think. Wait a minute, let me check my pulse. I'm still alive.
There's like a Lego looking dude with like a box for a head. There's the shadow dude with white hair that like looks like a shadow, and then there's the one that looks like a mushroom. And I have no idea what any of those what they can do. I don't remember any of them.
Hey, I mean,
And then
you might get your hallucinogenic girl out of that mushroom chick.
oh, now I've got a threesome fantasy.
Oh dear.
Um, so I don't know, like, but I really like that character, so that was kind of cool. And then on our side, we have like much like the same kind of group that we had the other time. So instead of the electric guy, we have the belly beam guy, and instead of the animals guy, we have Invisible Girl, who is like kind of a one trick pony, like never seems to do very much. And then instead of like a really versatile person like Froppy, we have the Shadow Guy. And then leading the group, um, we have the one that can make things out of her body.
Oh, crazy. I think Dark Shadow or what is it? I forgot his name. The bird dude.
Yeah,
I think he's just as versatile as probably. I mean, they even make comments about like a
that's
lot
what
of
I was
like.
equating them to. I was saying like the team's abilities, big picture abilities, are very similar to the other one. That like we don't have someone that can do one big blast of electricity, but we have the belly blast guy, and we have one low level person that's probably better at reconnaissance. And in one case, it was the animal guy, which is that's all he really did. In this case, it's Invisible Girl. Both of them like are fairly low performing characters from what we've seen in previous episodes, and they're both primarily good in this situation for reconnaissance. We have one really versatilely skilled person with the bird guy, the bird shadow guy, and then who is about on level with versatility with Froppy. And then Red Riot was their big hitter, and in this case, we don't have a big hitter, so the big change. Instead of a big hitter, we have someone that can create things out of their body fat.
I still think she should be a big hitter. I don't. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I
She's
thought
a
her
big
kick.
hitter, but I would consider her more like Froppy style useful. You know what I mean? Than someone that's like a big hitter like Red Riot. You know, like a
I mean,
slugger.
well, with her, it just depends on how much. fat she's got.
Well, her strengths are like that she can create anything, but like from what I've seen her in the past, yes, she can create like a bazooka or something like that. But from what I've seen of in the past, like her big skill is her mind. That she's really intelligent and kind of an overachiever, and that she has like a really versatile skill set and a fairly strategic mind. And in one of her recent story arcs, she got over a lot of her lack of confidence. So her biggest weakness is mostly the edge is a little dulled. She's probably still going to show some signs of lack of confidence, but she's really done a lot to get over that.
I mean, I would hope. I mean, I'd say like her quirk deals with a lot of her belly fat. It all really depends on like how much fat she's got, or lipids. I think it's what they call it, lipids. Yeah, lipids.
Yeah.
It depends on how much lipids she's got. Um, Granted, I feel like a lot with that too is like now she's got that cape now. She doesn't have to be sparing about how big of something she's gonna create. I mean, I would think. I don't really know. Like you can still see a good bit of her from in front of that cape, so I don't really know.
Yeah. I just hope it doesn't cut into her cup size because that would be really sad.
It's about it. I was just talk about this episode. Um, Next one is gonna be next class is next class fight, which is probably gonna go by just as quickly as it starts. I think they're gonna lose from the makeup of it. It's gonna be really sad, but I mean, Class B's gotta get a win because I think each class is like I think they're very close in comparison comparing to anyway because like I mean they keep fighting each other. Well, at least the class representative for B is very antagonistic for no other reason just because he can.
Mm-hmm.
Going as far as to say that they got 2 points higher on the survey of likability, I was like, does that really matter? In class when they didn't seem all that concerned. I mean, they were saying, "Oh wow, we didn't see that. We were so concentrated on doing other things." I mean, I
That's pretty
hope.
cool.
I mean, I hope that like they don't do with Tetsu what they do with Red Riot, because I mean that's just gonna really hammer in the home that they are very similar. The only thing about that's different between him and Red Riot is that Red Riot has like so much more personality to go with his quirk than Tetsu does.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
like
guess so. Like, I think that he's just there to like so they can look like each other and say the same things and stuff. And he's an accessory to Red Riot. But I still thought you'd like him for some reason. Like when it comes to Class B characters, there's not a lot
I don't
that's
really know if I have any class 1B I mean like fairs because they don't show up enough. I can't get they never show up long enough for me to get attached to any one of them. I mean the one that I would say I probably will have more attachment to is Kendo. It's because like when she has shown up and she has been very helpful to them. Granted when she shouldn't be, I mean to her own detriment. But I like her because she seems to be diplomatic. She doesn't seem to be so concentrated about winning and losing. And
she
you think she
seems like
would.
the only reason she's in Class B is because she has a woefully like weak power. But like if she had even a slightly better power, I think she would have been like a Class A material because personality wise, I feel like she's Class A material.
We haven't really seen what she's capable of yet anyway, so I mean we can't like say that she's like underpowered yet.
Well, I mean, what we know about her is that she.
You cut
Well,
out
we've
there.
seen her. I said what we know about her is that she can be big, and that's pretty much it. We've seen her in life and death situations where power was really good. It would have come out. She might have come up with a new ability soon, and that, of course, is possible with any of the characters. And what we know about her so far, she has a very limited power.
I mean, yeah, I feel like to me with her quirk, she should be able to make her entire body bigger, but I don't know. I'm not sure how if that would clash with Mount Lady or not, because that's essentially her quirk. But I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe that joke that we will mount that lady. So,
I'm very carefully staying away from any jokes that are related to her, like finding new body parts to get big.
okay, I think with that we're going to end this podcast. Because like
I said I
I,
wasn't doing it. I said
I couldn't think of a transition. So I think Jock just ended it for me there because I couldn't think of any way to end this off. So I mean, he just flat out just said it. Okay,
I'm very good at ending our podcast in fiery conflagrations, so I'm happy to do that.
I couldn't think of a way to end it. So guess we'll come back next time when we're reviewing that episode and whatever comes out after that. The next one's gonna be episode 6, I think, and it's gonna be just more of the combat training. Hopefully, maybe we'll see the Bakugo's group get in the fight too. But I don't think this group's gonna last that long because I think isn't Ida in group with Bakugo?
I'm not sure. I can't. I lost track. They went through the group so fast.
Oh, was that Todoroki that was in the group with Ida? That's not what it was. That may be what it is.
The
But
only main thing I remember is that Uraraka and Midoriya are in the same group, and they're going up against Class C guy. That seemed, and they're going last. That just seemed like that's connected to the core plot at some point.
we will see. I'm trying not to say anymore, but we're gonna end out here. See you guys next week.